Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our entitled people. In today's episode, entitled coworker tries to schedule meetings outside of contract time and criticizes my non-work plans. Quit swimming so stupid, my grandson is copying you. Am I a pedo or a drug dealer? Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled coworker tries to schedule meetings outside of contract time and criticizes my non-work plans. For reference, my 8-hour workday ends at 3 o'clock, so these meetings make for 10-hour plus days, and because the coworker is so disorganized and unprepared, we frequently have to cover things that they should have done ahead of time, like creating an agenda or desired outcome at the actual meeting. Because these are required meetings, usually only once or twice a month, I have to go to them no matter when they're scheduled, and get extended pay for working overtime, but my coworker is supposed to give at least a week's notice, and I'd definitely rather have the free time than the money. Typically, if I don't hear by Thursday afternoon that they have scheduled the meeting for 4 o'clock on a Friday, I make other weekend plans, like hiking or bicycling or going out somewhere. Yesterday, Friday, the coworker attempted to schedule the meeting at 4:45, but didn't put it on my calendar until 3:05. I should have been off by then, but I had an end-of-day meeting that went over by a few minutes, so I was doing a last check of email and then shutting things down for the weekend. I saw the meeting request and responded that wasn't enough notice for a meeting that far outside the workday, and that I normally would not have even seen the notice until the following Monday, and CC'd my boss just so they knew I wasn't trying to shirk any duties. Of course, coworker is upset because they're required to hold the meeting by law and it's the absolute last day to do it without filing an extension, which they've been told by my boss they're not allowed to do unless there's extenuating circumstances, and they've known about it for 2 months, they just didn't plan for it. My boss calls at 3:10 saying, "Can you please do this now and end at 4:10 and we will address it on Monday?" Fine. I was planning on leaving town, but I can leave a little bit later. Coworker responds to my boss by email and says they're using personal time between 3:10 and 4:45 so they can't hold the meeting until then, and that nothing I'm doing could possibly be important enough that I can't attend the meeting at 4:45. Boss calls coworker confessed that their child's birthday party is at 6 that evening and that they have to go try to find a cake and party supplies for the party before the meeting, which is why they can't be available. Boss gets annoyed and says that we, boss and I, will do the meeting now and coworker will have to answer for it on Monday. Boss and I hold meeting, it takes 20 minutes, I'm out of there by 3:45. Coworker sends me a nasty gram by text at 10:15 p.m. saying it's my fault they're in trouble and that they have a child, so I should understand that people with children come first, and that my activities/hobbies are pathetic and it wouldn't have been that hard for me to just attend the meeting they scheduled, and that they'll have to go back and fix everything my boss and I did incorrectly because they like to do it a specific way. My boss had already submitted it. I responded that I hope they enjoyed their child's birthday party and to have a good weekend. They respond that they forgot to invite people so no one came, and thanks for rubbing that in their face. If there was ever a time for the phrase "lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on my part," this was it. Sheesh. So true. My boss even said that. Prior preparation prevents piss-poor performance. You should 100% screenshot that and send it to your boss. Already on the plan for Monday's meeting. So he didn't plan the meeting until last minute, didn't buy the party supplies until last minute, and forgot to invite his child friends and family to the party? That man is the personification of lack of planning, which, as the saying goes, is not an emergency for you. The only gimme I'll give them is that they're going through a divorce right now, but they've been like this for as long as I've worked with them. They forgot to invite people for their kids' party. That's why no one showed. Hilarious. Quit swimming so stupid, my grandson is copying you. It all starts with the most infernal of devices at the gym. The treadmill. See, a friend of mine who was basically a professional gym rat told me, dude bro guy, you gotta up your cardio game, and insists that a half hour on a treadmill every time I hit the gym would be a good plan. Life pro tip: when someone addresses you as dude bro guy, seek a second opinion. Did the treadmill thing for a few weeks, and then I noticed any time I went downhill my knee was like, hey, you're an asshole. Stop that. Which was a problem. As I have a dog who likes to go on walks and where I live is not precisely known for its flat terrain, this was an issue. Then it got worse, now it was downhills and stairs. Deadlifts? Squats? Leg press? No problem. Slight downhill? Stairs? Oh nah. Figuring knees aren't something one should ignore and hope it goes away with, I met with my doctor. She promptly referred me to physical therapy and not a knee brace like I was hoping. I met with the PT lady. She did an exam, said my quads are wonk and need work. I also discovered where my quads are. I was told to do not a lot with my legs at the gym other than bikes or swimming. All things being equal? I'll swim. I can swim. But I cannot swim well for very long. Turns out being out of breath and trying to get actual air in isn't as easy as it used to be, especially when some fat ass is splashing water all around. Until my lungs catch up with the rest of me, I've adopted what I call the fatty twirl. 4 or 5 strokes of freestyle, roll onto my back and then kick with the legs until I've got air in me. Then roll back for more and pray I haven't gotten close enough to the edge of the pool to smack my hand into it. I assume I'm doing well because PT lady hasn't given me that I am disappointed look typically reserved for dentists when one has forgotten to floss. But that brings us to yesterday. Normally I go in the morning, mostly in the interests of avoiding shrieking children while I'm trying to do my thing, but work was nutty and I went later than I usually do. There were clumps of teenagers doing I don't even know what, but they mostly just snickered to each other and I minded my business. Now the dry part of my routine is done and it's pool time. I wound up taking a lap lane next to a grandmother in her 50s was apparently trying to teach her grandkid who was 10 tops how to swim properly. I didn't hear a whole lot seeing as when my ears weren't underwater there was a fat guy splashing and making a bunch of noise, but I could tell the kid was splashing and coughing a lot and this made grandma upset. I didn't pay attention because it wasn't my business and there were lifeguards. I just wanted to get my laps done. Was on an extended period of back float time trying to catch my breath when I was ambushed by a pool noodle. Said noodle was applied directly to my face, and not gently. While not painful, a noodle to the noggin is quite startling. I believe the first words out of my mouth were, "What the hell?" It was grandma wielding the noodle. And she was giving me a very stern look. Watch your language. And stop doing that. I asked grandma what it was I was doing that led her to believe smacking me with a noodle was a good idea. Grandma informed me that I was swimming stupid and her grandson wanted to copy me. So I needed to stop. After I confirmed that was in fact why I was assaulted with a noodle, I suggested that she might have better luck in the kids' part of the pool. You know, the one over there, far away from me. She said she was just fine here, I was the one causing the problem. I thanked her for her opinion and promptly resumed my swim. On my return trip, this woman stepped into my lane and grabbed my ankle. I don't know about the rest of you, but when I'm swimming and something grabs my leg, instant panic response. I immediately started flailing and kicking wildly, trying to free myself. Grandma got herself a nice adrenaline kick right on her forearm. I came up gasping for air and ready to start swinging. I am stopped by the soothing sounds of grandma wailing about how I just broke her arm. Edit, her arm was not in fact broken. She wound up with a nasty bruise and that was it. I caught her with the top of my foot. Pro tip. Top of the foot is a bad place to land a kick with. Naturally, that's enough to get the lifeguards involved. None of whom were apparently paying attention before she started screaming. 2 of them are lifting grandma out of the pool and trying to examine her arm while she's still wailing and flailing. A third is giving me static about kicking another guest in the pool. Well, they started to until I pointed out where the kicking happened and her grandson was. Poor kid had frozen in place with an expression of abject horror. Once she connects the dots, she realizes I'm not the problem. I tell her I'm going to go get changed and then I'll identify myself to the front desk, because if I'm going to get interrogated, I'd prefer to be clothed. I did my thing, and by the time I'd showered and changed, there was a manager at the desk apologizing for what had gone on. They reviewed the tapes and that woman's membership had been terminated and they're very sorry and please don't sue us. Best interrogation ever. Play stupid games. Very satisfying to read that the Karen got some well-deserved physical interaction in response to her assault. Glad you got a kick out of my story. I'll see myself out. No matter what happened here, I was on your side for coining the term fatty twirl. I thought I was the only one that swam that way. I don't know if you/Ulfra and I are soulmates or the fatty twirl is a trait all of us non-gym dude bro guys share. Dude, this had me laughing so hard. I feel your pain with trying to get back into working out again. I don't blame you for wanting to be dressed while being interrogated. Good on the gym for having security cameras that caught what really happened. Mostly, you are an excellent writer. You set the scene and added some humor and had a happy ending for everyone involved except the entitled grandmother. Well done. ETA corrections for words that don't belong because OC is a great storyteller. This is written wonderfully. Glad you got a good resolution. Am I a pedo or a drug dealer? Was just taking my fluff for his nightly drag, and when it's just time for me and him to chill, I'll usually just bring some poop bags, a flashlight, and myself. No phone, no ID. Just unplug and regularly threaten to send him back to the manufacturer for being defective. Said in a sweet tone, mind. The route our wandering takes us on typically involves heading towards a spot with a trash can, so I can skip the carrying the poop home part. Said location is a school. Our walkie's route takes us up past the school, and then back down the other side so he doesn't notice us actually turning around. As we came back down the other side, he'd pooped, and I'd bagged the turd for disposal in a garbage can outside the school. Crossed the road, threw the poop in the trash, and then the sun came back out. Only it wasn't the sun, it was a pickup truck with a light bar brighter than the sun, blaring into my eyes. At night. Felt good. I put a mittened hand up to block the light and see where I was going, and proceeded to walk away from the truck back towards home. Truck follows us. Fantastic. Truck continues to follow us for a quarter of a mile, when a police car rolls up with lights on but no siren. Cop shines his spotlight on me, which turned my headache all the way up to 11, and instructs me to put my hands up. I do so. Cop gets out of his car and informs me I'm loitering near a school. I deny this, I'm walking my dog. Same time and route I do every night. He asks me for ID, I tell him it's at home. Where I'd like to be going now if it's all the same to him. That's when the clown in the pickup uses a ladder to descend from his lifted monstrosity of a truck and starts rambling about how he saw me put a baggie in the trash. Bear in mind, the light bar is still on and is effectively blinding the cop. Cop finally tells the guy to turn his light bar off or he's getting cited. Man wobbles his way back up the ladder and turns the sun off. Finally. Man in truck goes on to exclaim I must be a pedo, lurking behind a school so late at night. First of all, it's a Saturday, and it's after dinner time. I don't care how much a student has misbehaved, there's no such critter as all weekend detention. The parking lots are also entirely empty. Ain't nobody here. Almost like it's a nice well-lit place to walk a dog. Man then goes on to try and say what about the bag? You selling drugs? Nope. Just throwing out my dog's poop, thanks. Cop at this point looks at me and then at the man, does some math and realizes I'm probably not the problem here. Cop begins taking an interest in the other guy, Who has pupils that are wide open despite a freaking spotlight being shined at them? I'm told I'm free to go. I went. I mean, you could still be one of those unorthodox pedo drug dealer sorts who prefer to do their business when there's no kids or drug addicts around. An unsuccessful pedo drug dealer is still a perfectly legitimate career path, don't you let anyone tell you otherwise. Seriously though, glad the cop had some common sense and realized the guy was full of shit. Sounds like making new friends in the neighborhood was fun. My boss doesn't let me talk to strangers, I'm starting to think he might have a point. So either you're a pedo who likes it when there's no kids around or a drug dealer that throws away their product? Makes total sense. /S. Could you please write a book in your voice as you have done here? It could be more about you and your dog's adventures. No matter how mundane, I'd buy it. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.